Well, hello. This is Rochelle, and thank you for joining me here on the Creative Retreat YouTube channel. Being in lockdown, we obviously can't go out to buy supplies such as vellum, so I decided to make my own. Printed on normal copier paper with just an inkjet printer, so no special printers required. And then I just take some baby oil and put it all over the page where I want it to be vellum-like with a piece of cotton wool. You do need to wipe this off quite a few times and let it, cure so that the oiliness doesn't affect the other pages and the other elements. So having done that front and back, I'm just going to wipe it off with a napkin, a serviette, and just make sure that it's good and dry before I hang it to dry even more. So there you have it. I've got a little vellum printed sheet of journaling cards, which I'm going to end up using for a pocket. Which then brings us to the devotional for the month of April, which was written by Andrea Lucado. And it is called My Shepherd, and so apt and so excited about this devotional just because of the time and place we find ourselves in all over the world, and really understanding that we have this shepherd who looks after us. And if you read the devotional, I so appreciate that she addresses how often we look at this Psalm 23, as a psalm of comfort and saving us in the times of trouble, but it's so much more than just that. And so I was very excited to work with this devotional, looking at it as a psalm of contentment, and so understanding that even in this time when people are panic buying and things are flying off the shelves and you're worried that you won't be able to find the basic needs, that we lack nothing. In this psalm, it says so many times, we lack nothing. I'm going to work in my little Psalter and do it at the Psalm 23 piece. I've decided to make a little pocket with little tags because I wanted some of these mentions in the devotional on the back of these little tags so that I would remember it. Andrea says that Kyle Lent, a local pastor, explained it as follows, that a shepherd is a watchman looking over his flock and out to the horizon to watch for dangerous animals, a guard at the ready to defend his flock, a guide leading his flock to water and green pastures, a physician taking care of the flock when they're sick and ill, a savior going after that one sheep who is lost, a provider making sure that the flock has sufficient to eat, and a lover loving each of these sheep that he looked after and cared for and saved, looking after them, and not just looking after them, but loving them. So like I said, I just used this little vellum pocket. I put glue on the back of it, the Tombow multi-liquid glue. I had trouble using the double-sided tape, obviously because the double-sidedness of it won't stick to the oil on this vellum. So there are some certain limitations with it being an oil-made vellum pocket, but not enough that stopped me from doing it anyways. I put the leaves and the little faux washi at the bottom, just creating this little cluster where I can put these tags that I'm going to be making from the same set of printables. I love that these printables always have these 3 pages, the one being the journaling cards, the one being the elements, and then the last one having the alphabet in a different font, with these 3 larger like pattern paper pieces. I am using the existing tag that is in the printable set as guide to the little corners that I needed to cut off on both sides. And then I'm just going to draw lines at the back and write down those words from Kyle Lent, where he explains what a shepherd is. I really needed to hear all of that, to know that in this time when we're uncertain of what tomorrow holds, or whether or not our governments would extend lockdowns or not, we're all worried, and knowing that even in this time, with everything happening for small businesses, for financial need, for all of this, God says that He is our shepherd and we lack nothing. If we're in the shadow of death, we lack nothing. If we're on the mountaintop, we lack nothing. On the long, straight, mundane roads, still, we lack nothing. Like when the days run into one another and you're not even sure if it's day 1 or day 16 or Monday or Saturday. We lack nothing. I did put some eyelets on these tags just to have them dress them up a little bit. I am putting my date stamp using the Faber-Castell Pitt Artist pen, just inking it up and then writing these notes onto these tags. As always, I really enjoy that the devotional has several verses that you can reference to and that you can go to and read and study up on. So I know that Psalm 23 is probably the most obvious one, with it being my shepherd, but there's also beautiful verses in Matthew where God speaks of Him being the shepherd and we the sheep knowing His name, His voice, His calling. In this time, take the few minutes or the hour every day, or now that we have more time, less traffic, less time in traffic on our way to work, take that hour and spend it understanding or getting to know that voice of God, that call of God. And the way we get to know that is by being in the Word. My kids so often ask me, Mommy, how do I hear the voice of God? And it's, true for me. I've never audibly heard it, but I know it because I know what I'm reading in the Word about it. I am just dressing up these tags a little bit using some of the pre-cut elements from the first page. I'm using a piece of gold thread just to kind of create a little scene at the back of these where I want to put the sheep down. I can't stick down the little thread in itself, so I just make sure that there's enough glue on the sheep to go through the thread onto the page, and that sticks it down securely. I'm going to use that same thread just to thread through the tags, and there you go, safely in its pocket. I do want to add some of these words by Andrea Lucado, so I'm just using a Faber-Castell C-nib pen, using it on the point side because I don't have a S-nib in this color, and so I just wrote down some of the words she said specifically here and making it a part of this page. She says that no matter what happens, we lack nothing because the Lord is our shepherd. Our contentment lies not in our circumstances, but in the one who is with us through them all. A little bit of splatters using the brush tip, just putting it on my non-stick craft mat, adding water with a fan brush and just picking it up and splattering it everywhere. And then adding her name to that little quote, giving her the credit for that. And that's that for my page today. Thank you so much for joining us. Do check out the other ladies with these April Faith Art boxes and Faithful Digitals. Look forward to seeing you. Bye-bye.